Hey everyone, welcome to Daily Revelations. So look at Lamentations 1 this week. And the thing that I want to talk about is how to defeat an enemy, because that was the thing today when I was reading through this. I kept seeing enemy, adversary, and I know we talked a little bit about that in Esther as well, but the Jews are finding themselves now completely defeated. But as I read through this, realizing, as we read Esther, I've gone into this, we're catching them at the beginning of the story. In Esther, we're catching them at the end of the story, right before the Jewish people, because that's around the same time as Nehemiah and Ezra going back and rebuilding Jerusalem. So the Jews are coming back into Jerusalem by the time Esther, but now we're seeing them on the very front end of facing these adversaries. But the thing is that as I read through this, I'm realizing that their enemies haven't changed. What we see in the Jewish people is that they change from the beginning to the end of their captivity. And so at the beginning, they're saying, like in verse 9, it says, my enemy is magnifying himself. He is making himself bigger. He was making himself bigger at the end as well, when the Jews said, we don't see you as bigger. We see God as bigger. I want you to remember that. And the adversaries, they stretched out their hands. They were taking advantage of everything that they could. Well, guess what? At the end of Esther and in Ezra, like we studied there, the enemies were doing the same thing. But again, they saw their God bigger than their enemies. In Lamentations, they don't. And again, in verse 17, they surrounded us and kicked us down. They said that their adversaries did that to them. Well, again, this is at the beginning, and they're allowing those thoughts of what and actions of their enemies to control them through fear. And yet, again, we see in Esther and Ezra, these people that have risen above that, who have seen God as bigger than their fear. And lastly, in verse 21, it says that our enemies rejoiced in our troubles. And again, in Ezra and Esther, at the end of this captivity, they did not allow that rejoicing to defeat them. And as I thought and prayed about this, it's that it's within us. And what we allow those people around us who oppose us, if we allow them to change us and to change our thinking and to say, you know what, you're just, you're one-sided, you don't agree with me, so therefore we, can't be friends. There's just so many tactics that people use that say that even as Christians, we aren't loving. But love doesn't mean that I have to agree with you. It means that I can see both sides and I need to stick to my side. It doesn't mean I change my opinion because that's the way I have to be loving to you. That's not love. That's giving in. That's a completely different thing. Hi, Daria. Morning. It's morning for you. It's getting later for me. So what we need to do when we face people that oppose us is realize that they're going to treat us this way, whether we cave in and God allows defeat in our lives, or we stick to truth. And in 2 Timothy 2:15, it says this, be diligent to present yourself approved to God, as a workman who does not need to be ashamed, accurately handling the word of truth. You can't change your enemy by siding with them. They'll say, oh, good, we won another one, and let's move on, because our tactics work. And so therefore, we're going to continue this. As I was thinking about this morning, I thought about my daughter is 5 years younger than her one brother who's older than her, and 7 years younger than the oldest. And so they would always call her cute. And she hated it. She absolutely hated it. And I don't know if, you growing up had older siblings or you were the older sibling, but my husband and I told her to disarm your enemy. You just need to ignore him. You need to know whether you're cute or not. that they're doing this to agitate you. You can't allow those words to come into you to bring you unpeace, because that's exactly those tactics that they want to use to make that happen. And so she did. She started ignoring it. And guess what? They stopped, because there was no fun in making fun of somebody who stood in their own truth and did not allow anything to move them. And that's the same thing we have to do. We have to be comfortable enough to say, you know what? This is what I believe. We don't fight back, because that is what an enemy wants to do. An enemy wants to engage with you. You stand strong. You stay confident. And you allow God's truth to have higher elevation and purpose in your life than what other people are saying. And if you have to write that on cards and put that up around your house and say, I believe this is more true than anything else, then do it. Because over time, the more that you put in those things in your life versus the things that your enemies are saying to you and people that are opposing you, you will find that those things rise to the top, and those things that you will go to over and over again, because that is where you have made your foundation. That's where you are standing strong. And so I just want to encourage you. I wrote down, live approved, not ashamed. You are victorious. Why not live it? And of course, in truth, in this truth, that's what we can stick with. And then on my, we have in our journal, if you haven't seen the new journals for the summer are coming out, or they're already out, they're in the links below, so you can download those. But I wrote in what you have to be thankful for today. It's always a good thing to be thankful for something. God's kingdom integrated into this world and his will played out only requires me to follow him, to love others, and to live joyfully. That's it. And whatever other people say about it, that's too bad. So anyways, hope you're blessed by that. Thanks for joining me on Daily Revelations. I will hopefully be on time every day the rest of this week. Had doctor's appointments yesterday, so that always messes up my Mondays. Anyways, so thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again next time on Daily Revelations. Bye, everybody.